এসে পাশে বসে, পায়ে পায়ে কখনো চলে যায় দূর। এ জীবন উদযাপনের সুর, রেডিও রেডিও যাদবপুর, এগিয়ে চলার সুর, রেডিও রেডিও যাদবপুর। 90.8 MHz, Community Radio, Jadavpur University.
At Radio JU Studio, we have Miss Baisakhi Saha at Bisesh Onusthan as our guest for today. She is an eminent author, her latest being Life Is Abracadabra. Miss Baisakhi, it is a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure for me also to be here and to be able to talk to you about the book and about my journey. And my journey started when I was at university, so I'm happy to be here at Kolkata Jadavpur University, and hopefully people will be inspired by the message that we are going to deliver today.
Okay, Miss Baisakhi, if I may, you have published this book, Life Is Abracadabra. Why have you chosen this name? And I mean, what inspired you to write this book?
Well, the book actually came in a dream, and I wasn't even thinking of writing it, and I was in a life-threatening situation, if I may say, and I had a dream. And when I woke up, the first feeling that I had was this: something was telling me, you cannot die with these stories inside you. They happen to you for a reason, and now you have to share it with the rest of the world. So that's when I knew that what happened to me through this journey across the world was not supposed to be kept just within me, and I had to share it. Still, my doubtful mind didn't want to believe it, so I just wrote 3 stories from out of the 21 stories in the book, and I shared it with some local publishers. I didn't really expect any kind of response, but within a matter of minutes, I got so many interests in my inbox, including 2 book deals from some of the largest publishers sitting right in my inbox, that I knew that this book happened for a reason, and I had to share this message with the world, and the dream was right. In fact, there are many stories in this book that just happened from dreams. So sometimes they were real dreams, sometimes they were just, the kind of dreams we have in our lives.
So, how has the book changed your life?
Yeah, I'll come to it. Let me tell you why I chose this title first. So abracadabra is actually a Hebrew word. It has a Hebrew origin, which means I shall create as I speak. If you remember, like when we were kids, we used to watch these, magical fairy tale stories like Aladdin and the Magic Lamp, where he would rub the lamp and the genie would appear and say, "Your wish is my command." Or Ali Baba would go to this door and say, "Open sesame," and the door would open. So those are just fairy tale stories. But can that kind of magic happen in real life? The 21 stories that are written in this book are true stories that happened to me in real life that will make anyone believe in magic and miracles. So abracadabra also has a deeper meaning. In Aramaic, it means avra kehdavra, which again means I shall create as I speak. And its origin comes from 3 Hebrew words. Ab, meaning father, Ben means son, and Wah Akadosh, which means Holy Spirit. So Father, Son and Holy Spirit, it's the Holy Trinity of life. So we are in this physical life, which is like a reality of duality. But actually it is not duality. It is the Trinity that defines our life. For example, there is hot, there is cold, and there is room temperature, that which is neither hot nor cold. So hot defines cold and cold defines hot. And then there is the midpoint. So there is up, there is down, and there is ground level. mind, body, spirit, solid, liquid, gas, electron, proton, neutron, south pole, equator, north pole. So if you see, everything about our life encompasses the Holy Trinity. So when I say life is abracadabra, it has a much deeper meaning than just some gobbledygook nonsensical word that we hear as magical incantation like abracadabra, you know. So that's why I chose this name, so people can start to believe in real magic. And once you start believing in magic and you start expecting magical things to happen, then the magic multiplies in your life.
Okay, now I'll come to the question, like, this book has changed your life surely. So how it has helped you in your own life?
See, I was always confused in my life. You know, I studied computer engineering and I didn't enjoy that career. Then, throughout my travels across the world, I was a marketing executive. I was, you know, a German interpreter, English teacher, Spanish translator. So I didn't really know what I wanted to do in my life. I was exploring whatever brought me joy or excitement in the moment, until the idea of this book came. And since the publication of this book, I have been called in so many places to, you know, talk about the journey in the book. I've done so many, media interviews and events and book fairs and literature festivals where I've talked about the book. And it has given an entire new dimension to my life. And I believe now that this is probably what my life purpose is, to spread the evolutionary message which this book contains. And my work as such is to expand consciousness on the planet. And I feel that when people's consciousness can expand to hold a larger reality, then they can experience more magical outcomes in their lives. And normal day-to-day strife that most people experience, be it in terms of diseases or accidents or a lot of those kind of things, you can avoid in your life if you can tune into that magical realm of reality. I call it another dimension of reality. And to me, it's this whole concept of synchronicity. And if you understand what it is and how it works, it will, you will start perceiving life from an altogether new dimension of reality.
So is there any mention of your life events in the book? I mean, would you like to throw some light on it, if there is any practical life experience there also?
Yes, of course. See, these are not just my stories. If they were, I wouldn't have written this book and shared it with the world. So these are humanity's stories. And I believe if such magical experiences can happen to one person, if that possibility exists for one person, that possibility exists for everybody. So although I have shared the stories, the events, the occurrences from my life, the way it all panned out, anybody who reads this book, they will start to understand how it works.
What do you like to do when you're not working or writing?
Well, it's not, I never work consciously. So it has become a lifestyle for me. Since I was, since this journey started, it started when I was at university. That's why I always love to, talk to university students about these stories, because people are confused. We are born into a society, into the belief systems, cultural conditioning of a particular society, and often we grow up confused. We don't know what we want to do in life, what our dreams are, or even what our destiny path is. So this book is all about realizing our true destiny. Now, how do you understand what destiny even is? It's not fate. So it's not predestined, as many people think. Oh, destiny means it is all written. No, it is written and you are writing it. We are the creator and we are the created. So by destiny, I mean the path of the heart, which is carved by your desires and free will. So you have choice. Like fate is something you can't change. But destiny is where you follow the guidance of your heart. You follow your desires, you follow the path that excites you the most. And there will be lots of challenges on this path. It will not be easy. And I always say that everyone has two paths in their lives. One is the path of others' expectations of you, which if you follow, you will be lost if you try to listen to the noises of the world rather than the voice of your soul. And it will be a difficult path as well. And you may end up with some chronic ailments or acute illnesses because you are not giving expression to your soul or what you have come here on earth to do. Whereas the path of destiny is the path of the heart, where your heart will guide you. And the entire path will not be revealed to you, one step at a time. So I always say that my path chose me. It's not something that I consciously had planned. Sitting in Singapore, so at a very young age, I got a scholarship after class 10. I went to Singapore to study junior college and university. I had a full scholarship. And from there, my magical journey started. After I graduated, I started traveling the whole world. And how it happened one step at a time, it's truly magical. And I was just following the calling in my heart. And sitting in Singapore as a computer graduate, I could never imagine the length and breadth of this vast experience that was waiting to unfold in my life.
So, Ms. Baisakhi, at a very tender age of 17 years old, coming from a conservative background, you made all the decision, whatever you have made so far, like all these exploration. Weren't you scared of these experiences, new explorations? You traveled all over actually.
Yes.
So weren't you scared of what is coming next and how you are going to deal with it?
Yes, I was very scared actually. But I think, what I say, my higher self, or we are all guided in our lives. And I had some preparation because I left India at a very young age. I lived in Singapore alone in a hostel for 6 years. And I think that was a kind of preparation for what was to come, a storm, And I was scared, but I was also reading some very interesting books, adventures. There were some people that came into my life through whom I felt very inspired. And I was really not happy in Singapore. The pressure, the competition, I just felt that I was not cut out for that life. And having won a full scholarship, I also had a bond to serve, like a 6-year bond. And there was no way to escape that Singapore life. So those other students, they are still in Singapore serving the bond. I was also supposed to serve the bond. But I think I was the only one who managed to escape the bond legally. And it was not because I did something to escape the bond, but because the universe responded to my desires and created certain circumstances, certain situations. Like I always say that the universe clock is perfect. It was with so much precision that this gift was delivered to me and I managed to escape the bond. This story is in the book. It's called Freedom from Bond. So I'm not going to tell what exactly happened. People have to read it. And once I managed to escape the bond, I realized that I was meant to do something very different. And then one after another, you can call it meaningful coincidence. What I call them synchronicity. Of course, at the time, I didn't know the meaning of the word synchronicity. As they say, life can be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. So now on hindsight, I know what was happening to me was synchronicity, guidance of the universe, and the universe sending me signs and symbology, which I was reading and responding to. So the coincidences started multiplying in my life. And I realized it is not just everything senseless and simple. There was something deeper that was happening. It felt like a deeper intelligence was at work in guiding me on this life path. And as you read the book, the book is written in chronological and geographical. So as you follow one story to another, you start warming up. And then as you reach the middle of the book, the stories become so intense. You're like, oh my God, what's happening to her? Is she safe? Is she going to die? Things like that. Because I lived in some of the most dangerous countries of the world. And so many times I went through life-threatening situations. And there was no conceivable way for me to come out of those situations, if not for the something I say divine intervention that took me out and saved my life so many times, not once. So I knew that there was something more that was happening, and I was just following that inner guidance. মুক্ত চিন্তার পথে ভিন্ন মননের খোঁজ কমিউনিটি রেডিও যাদবপুর।
আপনারা শুনছেন কমিউনিটি রেডিও যাদবপুর 90.8 মেগাহার্জ। এই বেতার সম্প্রচারটি যাদবপুর বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ের টেকনিক্যাল এডুকেশন কোয়ালিটি ইমপ্রুভমেন্ট প্রোগ্রাম TEQIP-র অংশ।
We have Miss Baisakhi Saha as our guest today. So Miss Baisakhi, can you please tell us that how did this magical journey start?
Well, that's a very interesting question because, I was just an ordinary girl. And at university, I had a crippling back injury. And that back injury I suffered like for more than 2 years, had driven me to contemplating suicide. And I didn't really want to live that life because that injury had no cure. And doctors had told me that for the rest of my life, I had to, literally live without being able to do the very things that I loved. So before the back injury, I used to be an athlete, a dancer. I was in the college basketball team. I used to always, do marathons and track events and field events. So all of a sudden, my agile life suddenly came to a halt. I could not even walk. And at university, I used to do like physiotherapy, and all my scholarship money was spent on the therapy. After 2 years, I really didn't want to live that life anymore. And there were many nights I used to be so depressed, traumatized by the pain. I used to watch my friends do the dance. And, I went into very severe depression. I didn't want to live. And many nights I used to contemplate the idea of taking my own life. And then one night I did something crazy. And what exactly I did, I'm not going to share because that is the first story in the book. But I got up and I started doing something that I was not supposed to do. And I was expecting to land up in a coma or, in a hospital, and hoping that all that pain would just go away and I would be relieved from that misery. But something totally opposite happened and my back healed spontaneously. And I could not grapple with that reality, like exactly what happened, even I could not understand. And I called it a personal miracle. But now I know it is epigenetics and what exactly happened. I can explain it with reason and logic. But I felt I was gifted with some kind of new life and I had to live up to that life, what I was gifted. And from that point on, my life changed completely. That was my first encounter with magic. And then at university, I was learning German, and we had a lot of German foreign students from other countries, from Germany, of course, who were like exchange students at our university. And our professor used to make us interact with them just to better our language skills. And through them, I caught the travel bug because they were like big travelers. They would just pick up a map of an unknown country and sometimes just go alone backpacking, not for 1 or 2 days, but for months, and come back with so many adventurous stories to tell. I found it very interesting and inspiring because coming from a conservative background in India, a Bengali, Kolkata girl, I was not even allowed to go out alone anywhere. And I used to be so inspired by these German students, males and females, that I started doing some small backpacking trips around Asia in groups with them. But my big dream was to go to Germany, to Europe, whose language I was learning, for which I had neither the opportunity nor the money. I was so crazy that I used to take my books during exam times, go to the airport and sit there at the viewing mall to study there. And all the planes bound Europe, I used to wave at them and say, like, tell Germany I'm coming soon. I used to go to the airport to see of all my German exchange friends, and they would invite me to go to Germany and visit them. And I used to tell them, oh yeah, I'm coming, just wait for me. And this game became a reality when suddenly one day I won an all expense paid trip to Europe. And how that happened, again, that is a story in the book. I didn't do anything to cause it to happen, but certain synchronicities or meaningful coincidences started appearing in my life. I just followed those signs. I had some dreams, and then something happened, and then something happened, and then something, and before I knew it, I was in Europe living my dream life. And when that happened, I knew that there was something bigger that I had to explore in my life. And what that was, I had no clue. But when I came back from Europe, of course, I had to stay in Singapore and serve the bond, 6 years, work there. And as I said before, the bond got magically taken away from me. And then I chanced upon an exchange platform that took me all over the world. So from Asia to Europe to Africa to South America to Central America to North America, I lived in all these continents with local people, with local families, eating their food, working in their countries, making very little money, and then traveling with that money and wearing their costumes, attending their religious and traditional functions, attempting to speak in their language. Sometimes when I didn't know the language, trying to communicate through gestures and symbols. I lived poorly. There were days I didn't have food to eat because I didn't have enough money to buy food. For example, when I went to Africa, my parents, they were very much against it, but I'm a very stubborn person, so I went there. And my parents had given me some money. And in my very first month there, all the money that I had taken with me got robbed. And I was left with nothing. Then I stayed in Africa. I worked there for 1.5 years. I saved every month. And at the end of 1.5 years, when I wanted to come back, my visa was expiring. I didn't even have half the ticket money to purchase my tickets back home. And there was no conceivable way that I could leave Africa. Until one day, I was taking my bucket bath to go to work. And a soft voice inside told me, have faith, you will go. And that day I made a different choice. I didn't go to work. I did something else. And a couple of hours later, I met a stranger whose name was Faith, and she gave me my tickets to leave Africa. So, when I say abracadabra, I shall create as I speak. Imagine that little voice telling me, have faith, you will go. And then actually meeting someone by the name of Faith who gave me the ticket to come back home. It's not something I could have ever planned. It was a chance encounter, a serendipity at best that you can say. But would you say that it was random? I don't think so.
Since its release, what kind of responses have you received from your readers?
Oh, so far, whoever has read the book has given me excellent feedback, without exception. Why I say it is because nobody so far has given me any kind of criticism about the book, which I was actually expecting. Be it endorsers, readers, reviewers, bloggers, or just a general reader, they actually contact me on social media, on Instagram, through emails to tell me how much the book has changed their life, or, it has made their dreams stronger or made them believe in themselves, which they didn't before, which was, as a writer, it's like the biggest gift you can receive. And I have been on cloud nine since then. In fact, the book has been endorsed by a lot of people across the world, renowned luminaries and world visionaries, including two-time former president of Costa Rica, Nobel Peace Prize laureate, Guinness Book of World Records holder, Lonely Planet founder, Emmy Award winner, international best-selling authors whose books have been made into major motion pictures, prominent media personnel from National Geographic and BBC and CNBC. So all these endorsements the book got even before it got published. Even after it got published, like even if you look at the reviews the book has received on public sites, sometimes even it takes me aback, like how much the book is influencing people. I really thought, they are my stories, so it will help people, but to what extent it is impacting lives is still like a big surprise for me.
I was about to ask you this question only. What do you hope readers take away from your book?
So, as I said before, this belief in magic. Now, magic is something you can't really explain, and it is not just luck. You can create magic in your life. And when they read the book, they will understand this whole journey of a confused computing student at university who would have probably been working at some big company, coding and programming in a small cubicle office for the rest of her life. From there, this vast ocean that unleashed in front of me, it's not something a layman can conceive or plan. And this is what I want to show people, that even you can dare to dream big and have the courage to believe in your dreams if you know how this energy works. It's like another dimension of reality, and if you connect with that dimension, then it flows. It's like I say, when you are in flow, the synchronicities in your life multiplies. And when you are out of flow, everything becomes difficult. And sometimes we need those lessons to move forward. So everything in life has value. Every experience, every challenge has value. But if you can connect to this energy, a lot of the resistance that we experience in our day-to-day lives, illnesses, diseases, accidents, just some random bad experiences, you can avoid a lot of those things in your life. Because, see, when I traveled this whole world, I literally traveled with no money. And I was not traveling to see another country and tell people, oh, look, I have been to so many countries. That was not the motive. For me, it was to find out what I came here to do. And each place, each continent where I went, I was just exploring life from the shoes of those people, what life looked like, and I got so many insights. I just believe that my worldview expanded so much that, when people talk about cultures or traditions or religions, I've seen so many in my life, so many belief systems, ideologies, philosophies, theologies, traditions, rituals, that at the end of it, that there is something much bigger to life than just those stories. And I realized that we are making it all up. There is nothing written in stone. The cultural stories, the belief systems, the functional and the dysfunctional ones, everything is human creation. And we are creating it. And if we are creating it, we can change it. That is the power of the Creator imbued inside us. They say we were made in the image and likeness of the Creator. And we have come here on earth to create. So never ever diminish the light that is inside you or make your dreams small. Dreams are the container of your soul. The bigger you can dream, the more of your soul you let in. And that's why I tell people, never stop dreaming. Even if it seems like there is no possible way to manifest those dreams, even if you are at the last stage of your life or in your deathbed, you can take your dreams to the other side. because the soul is eternal. And, when you have a desire, when you have an imagination, there is another parallel reality where that becomes a creation.
Okay, looking forward, how do you see your writing evolving in the next few years?
Well, I already have another book written, which is again inspired by true events, but the plot is fictitious. And I intend to turn it into a feature film after its publication. And this book also, I want to take it to the international market. And if it does well, eventually I want to start an Abracadabra series where it will no longer be just my stories. It will be the stories of humanity, and it will make people believe in magic and walk the magic path. So this is my vision for the future. Let's see how it all unfolds. I also have a blog, a bilingual blog on my website, where I regularly pen evolutionary topics, everything and anything from life and living, death and dying, and all things in between. And the concepts, the things that I explain there are much deeper than what you would normally hear about emotions, about feelings, about our difficult emotions like anger and negative feelings, why they happen and why we should not resist them, and how we can get the message from them to transcend them into a positive outcome. So a lot of people struggle with these things, as I also have in my own life. And I write about these topics in my blog in English and Spanish, because I live in Costa Rica and we only speak Spanish there. And I just picked up Spanish. I never took a single class in Spanish, but having lived with local families there, I had no choice but to pick up the language. And now I even do translating and things like that. So, literally magical things can unfold in your life. There is no limit to what you can do. Our soul didn't come into this body to live a one-dimensional life. We are multi-dimensional beings, and even when we sleep, we create our lives in different dimensions in our dreams. So there is no place where one dream ends and another dream begins. It's all the dream of humanity, and the more you can dream, the more impossible things you can achieve. And I would like to give a very ridiculous example here that would maybe make people believe how things even work. I lived in some of the most dangerous countries in the world. For example, in Venezuela, where I lived, they shoot you before they loot you. Right now, if you open any newspaper and read about what's happening in the country, people literally get murdered on the streets. Being a young unmarried girl alone navigating the streets of Venezuela when people don't even walk there, they always take cars, and I was probably the only fool who used to walk there. I even got robbed at gunpoint and all that. But I didn't have money to pay for even sometimes public transport. I was earning very little money, and with that money I used to travel. And sometimes I would have to walk the streets, come back late at night, and I would meet shady people on the road that, from the energy I know that, something bad is about to happen. And quickly in my imagination, I would ask my angels or guides, whoever was there, I would tell them, make me invisible. Now, I know that physically it's not possible for me to become invisible, but my faith in that higher power, just telling them that make me invisible, would actually keep those shady characters from even noticing me as a target. It's not necessary that I disappeared from that road, but they would see me and they'll think, okay, we don't want to rob her. So that kind of thing, in my imagination I would create. And then after my first robbery at gunpoint, when I, started using this kind of imagination to protect myself, there wasn't a second attack.
It was lovely walking through your experiences and hearing it out, whatever you have experienced so far. At the age of 17 years old, a girl moving out of the country, living all by herself, studying, working, and then exploring. It was a nice experience to have you here, actually. And we came to, after the interaction, we are so much looking forward to live those experiences through your eyes, actually. So with this, it's a wrap for today. So thank you, Ms. Baisakhi. All the best to you.
Thank you for having me, and I hope my book can bring a lot of abracadabra moments in all of your lives, all those who are listening to this program and who would like to read the book.
Thank you so much.
দূরে সে পাশে বসে পায়ে পায়ে কখনো চলে যায় দূর এ জীবন উদযাপনের সুর রেডিও রেডিও যাদবপুর এগিয়ে চলার সুর রেডিও রেডিও যাদবপুর 90.8 MHz Community Radio Jadavpur University.